Punctuation. Look at these two sentences carefully. 1. He slipped in the mud, fell into the pit, drowned, and died. 2. He slipped in the mud, fell into the pit, drowned, and died. While sentence 1 makes sense, sentence 2 does not, and becomes quite nonsensical. Mud fell into the pit, drowned, and died. This happens when a punctuation mark, here comma, is placed incorrectly in a perfectly meaningful sentence. Definition. Punctuation refers to a set of symbols or marks that we use in writing to separate sentences and phrases, indicate pauses, and clarify the intended meaning of a text. Punctuation marks serve to effect the required pauses and stops in writing, and they also help in the construction of different kinds of sentences. The principal punctuation marks are 1. Full stop or period. 2. Comma. 3. Semicolon. 4. Colon. 5. Question mark. 6. Exclamation mark. 7. Inverted commas. 8. M dash. 9. N dash. 10. Hyphen. 11. Apostrophe. 12. Parentheses. 1. The full stop represents the greatest pause and separation. It is used to close a statement or a command. For example, I will buy a new bicycle next month. Statement. Keep your elbows off the table. Command. 2. After abbreviations for titles, names, degrees, etc. For example, Dr. A.K. Verma, Dr. Anil Kumar Verma, M.A., M.A., Master of Arts, C.M., C.M., Chief Minister. Quick tip. A full stop is also called a period or a full point. A sentence can be ended only with a full stop, a question mark, or an exclamation mark. Keep in mind, if a sentence ends with an abbreviation, no additional period is needed. If the sentence requires a question mark or exclamation point, one may be added after the period. For example, please make the checkout to Ronald J. Pierre, DDS. Shall I make a checkout to Ronald J. Pierre, DDS? 2. The comma represents the shortest pause. It is used to separate words in a list and indicate short pauses in a sentence. For example, forts, palaces, lakes, desert, and a colorful folk culture attract tourists to Rajasthan. 2. To mark off words used in addressing people. For example, it's nice to see you, Alex. 3. The semicolon represents a pause of greater effect than that shown by the comma. It is used to separate the clauses of a compound sentence when they contain a comma, as, for example, he was a brave and large-hearted man, we all admired him. 2. To separate a series of loosely related clauses, as, for example, her heart was pure, her life serene. 3. To separate items in a list. For example, I've visited St. Louis, Missouri, Los Angeles, California, and Cleveland, Ohio. Quick tip. We use a comma before and when it connects two independent clauses, but it's not essential to put a comma when there's a list. 4. The colon marks a still more complete pause than that expressed by the semicolon. It is used to introduce a list. For example, he said that we should have 3 qualities: courage, strength, and sincerity. 2. To separate two contrasting statements. For example, to err is human, to forgive divine. 3. To clarify the information. For example, I didn't have time to get changed, I was already late. 5. The question mark is used instead of the full stop after a direct question, as, for example, did you lock the doors? Expressing confusion. For example, I should just put the paper in the copier over here. Confused tone. Requests that usually begin with a modal verb. For example, may I be excused? Can I come with you, please? Sometimes we see a question mark in parentheses in the middle of a sentence. It is used to show uncertainty or doubt. For example, the restaurant is closed, so we'll need to find somewhere else to eat. Quick tip. Question mark is not used after an indirect question, as, for example, she asked me where I lived. 6. The exclamation mark is used after interjections, exclamatory phrases and sentences, as, for example, I got into college. Excitement. My favorite movie is playing. Let's go. Wow. I can't believe I ran into you here. Here comes the Queen. Yes, I will help you. 7. The inverted commas or quotation marks are used to enclose the exact words of a speaker, or a quotation, as, I would rather die, he exclaimed, than join the oppressors of my country. Knowledge is power. Single quotation marks. Single quotation marks are often used for a quotation within a quotation or to highlight a specific word or phrase. The president declared, war is over. Single quotation marks can also be used to highlight a word or phrase, especially in written text. For example, the word phenomenon is often misused in everyday language. Single quotation marks are sometimes used for the titles of articles, chapters, and short works, though this usage is less common in American English. For example, I read the article The Future of Technology in the latest issue of the magazine. Keep in mind, if the quoted material is a question, the question mark should be inside the quotation marks. For example, when will it stop raining? Complained Keith. However, if the question mark is not directly part of the quote, then the punctuation should go outside of the quotation marks, as, who said the line, I'm the king of the world. 8. M- is used. To introduce an explanation in the middle of a sentence. For example, everybody, the spectators, the players, the journalists, praised her performance. 2. After a list of items when this list is followed by an explanation. For example, friends, colleagues, relatives, none came to his help. To join my father's business, to go abroad for higher studies, to look for a job in India, these were my choices. 9. N- is shorter than M- and is used to indicate a range or connection between numbers or words. For example, the Civil War, 1861 to 1865, made a lasting impact on the USA. When does the Denver-Dallas fight arrive? 10. The hyphen is used. In writing compound nouns. For example, my son-in-law is an engineer. I asked a passerby the address. 2. In compound adjectives. For example, my uncle has a 2-story house. 3. In a compound number. For example, a little child even can count up to 99. Quick tip. You don't need to use spaces on either side of an N-. 11. The apostrophe is used to show possession and to indicate contractions, as, for example, I've seen that movie several times. Contraction. Jack's dog barks at strangers. Possession. 12. Parentheses are used to separate from the main part of a sentence, a phrase or a clause which does not grammatically belong to it. For example, when my parents left for Malaysia, it was 9 years ago. I was only a baby. Further thought. Add any special skills, typing, organization, training and so on, to your resume. Qualifying remarks. Brackets clarify meaning in a quote by adding words or the phrase sick. They also form parenthetical statements inside larger parenthetical statements, called nesting parentheses. Quick tip. Sick indicates that the error they are seeing isn't a mistake on the part of the current writer, but rather an error in the original wording of the quoted text. For example, she, Miss Julie, was the last person seen at the house, reported the detective, adding words to a quote. Our time issues no further statements. Sick. We decided to go the Grand Canyon, my childhood dream, this summer. Braces contain sets of numerical or specialized information to show that they are considered as a unit. For example, the teacher wrote a set of numbers, 5, 7, 9, on the blackboard, grouping numbers. Solve this mathematical expression, 5 3 plus 25 to 5 equals n. An ellipsis indicates an omission of words or sentences. For example, we began to count 1, 2, 3 until we got to 10. Then went to find her. Omission of words. Hope is being able to see light despite the darkness. Hope is being able to see that there is light despite all of the darkness. Original. Quick tip. An ellipsis is also a useful tool in creative writing as it can be used to express hesitation, suspense, or a change of mood. Capital letters. Capitals are used. I, to begin a sentence, as. For example, as dusk falls, the birds return to their nests. He went abroad last month. 2. To begin each new line of a poem, as. For example, youth is full of pleasance. Age is full of care. 3. To begin all proper nouns and adjectives derived from them, as. For example, I'll come to see you on Monday. My younger sister is good at English. I can speak Chinese. 4. For all nouns and pronouns which indicate God, as. For example, O God, thou art merciful. The Lord. V. To write the pronoun I and the interjection O, as. For example, O death, where is thy sting? It is not I who should apologize,